Hello, you're listening to The Old New Adventures of Superman, the podcast where we go back in time to when these adventures were new and review each episode of the fantastic series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Only we're doing it 25 years later. So I'm one of your hosts. My name is Jason. Now, I watched this show when it first came out. The only thing is I would have been about 6 or 7 at the time. Since then, I've read a lot of Superman comics. I've become a big comic book fan, and I'm happy to say that I'm a big DC Comics fan. So I'm coming back to this show with a lot more knowledge than when I watched it the first time. Now, joined with me each week is my co-host, the Lois to my Clark. It's my lovely wife, Rochelle.
Hello. I've never seen this series before. I never even knew that it existed. So I'll be seeing it for the first time.
So why are we making this podcast? Well, the other day we were watching a terrible YouTube video that was ranking the different live-action portrayals of Superman. Now, I say it's a terrible video because it put Brandon Routh, who played Superman in the Superman Returns movie, he was ranked last in this list. Now, I strongly disagree with that. I agree that it's not a good movie, but not because he's not a good Superman. I thought he was an excellent Superman.
Yeah, I think he did a good job there.
Yeah, and I think if you see him in the Arrowverse playing the Atom, he proves that he's a good actor. He's a good superhero actor. So I think that list is wrong, but I digress because we were watching this list, going through different Supermen that you had seen, and ones like in Smallville, and obviously the Man of Steel movies.
Yeah.
But there was also one you didn't know who he was, Dean Cain.
I've seen his face before, but
But you didn't know he'd ever been Superman.
No.
And this is when I discovered the deep, dark secret my wife had been hiding for the more than 10 years we'd been married.
Dear.
That not only had she not seen Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, she did not know this show existed.
I know. When I saw that clip that they actually got married, I was like, what? Where was this? I've never seen that before. So,
So what did we decide to do? Well, we said we've got to see this show.
Yes.
So we went back, we found it, we said we're going to watch it.
Yes.
Every episode. I think there's 4 seasons. So it came out in 1993. So it's an old show.
Yes.
And we're going to discuss some of the interesting things that reveals.
Oh, how exciting.
But we decided, well, instead of just watching every episode, why don't we record it? Because we've come in with 2 very different perspectives. Myself, I'm looking at this show again, having read all the comics, having seen the movies, having a much better understanding of Superman lore in general. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be many things I'm going to notice that would have completely passed me by the first time I watched it. Mm-hmm. And then you're looking at it as a first-time viewer. So you've never seen it before.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to get your opinion.
And I like it because all the different Superman stories and series are all focusing on different aspects of him. And this is more their love story. So I think it'll be really nice.
Well, we will see.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know that they're going to get married, which is a little bit awkward.
Well,
but you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, but I always like my stories to have a happy ending. You know me. Well, like if there's like a movie or a book, I always say, what's the ending? Because if the ending is bad, then I'm just wasting my time watching it.
So I shouldn't tell you that Lois dies at the end.
No! Don't say that. No, I'm not going to watch it.
So, to start each episode of the podcast, what we'd like to do is read the synopsis of the episode as it is on the Wikipedia for Lois and Clark. Now, I just read through it very quickly, and I think there are a few mistakes in there, but I will try to correct them as I read.
Okay, just read it slowly.
So, episode 1, the very imaginative title of this episode is Pilot. So, this is episode 1, season 1, directed by Robert Butler, written by Deborah Joy Levine, and its original air date was September 12th, 1993.
Wow.
So this is probably the longest synopsis, but it was a 2-part pilot episode, so it was quite a long episode. But it says, Clark arrives in Metropolis and goes to the Daily Planet for a job interview. Perry dismisses him because he has no experience, but when Clark comes back with the story about a theatre being torn down that Lois rejected, Perry hires him. In the meantime, Lois wants to uncover a possible conspiracy behind a spaceship launch that might blow up, and Perry gives her the story only if she teams up with Clark. Lois does not want to, but not having a choice, she accepts. The two of them try to talk to Dr. Samuel Platt, but before they gather information, Platt is murdered and the murderer makes it look like a suicide. Lois and Clark also try to reach Dr. Antoinette Baines, but she claims that Dr. Platt is not to be trusted and that there is nothing wrong with the spaceship. It is later revealed that Dr. Baines works with Luther and they want to sabotage the launch in their benefit. Lois does not believe that Dr. Baines told... I think that should say what Dr. Baines told them, and she goes back later to check on her own along with Jimmy. Dr. Baines captures them and ties them up, while Clark comes searching for them. He wants to use his powers to save them, but he cannot do it, and Dr. Baines captures him too. Dr. Baines sets up an accident where the three of them will be killed, but Clark releases himself and saves Lois and Jimmy. When they get out, they witness Dr. Baines' helicopter exploding, killing her, while it is revealed that Luther is the one who booby-trapped the helicopter. After Dr. Baines' death, everyone believes that the spaceship is safe and they get ready to launch. Lois sneaks inside the ship while Clark visits his parents, frustrated that he cannot use his powers to help others. He asks Martha to make him a costume so he will be able to be himself and for people not to recognize him. Clark, Martha and Jonathan watch live the launch, but when they see that something is wrong, Clark flies back to Metropolis to help. He arrives as Superman and finds Lois inside the ship trying to disarm a bomb. He takes the bomb and swallows it in front of a shocked Lois. After that, he helps with the ship launch and makes the news where everyone calls him Superman. Lois is excited with Superman while Superman visits Luther to let him know that he knows who he really is and that he was behind everything. He vows to see Luther face justice one day, while Luther simply responds, "As they say, let the games begin." So why don't we just break down this episode a little bit following the synopsis here. Clark arrives in Metropolis. What did you think of his arrival in Metropolis? So he gets off the bus. He's got the suitcase.
His big suitcase.
CK on it.
Yeah,
so we know it's
CK.
Clark Kent. And then the bus, the brakes go out on the bus.
Yeah,
Metropolis, a dangerous city.
I know.
A lot of accidents.
Everything is like smoking there.
Yeah. So this bus comes running out. He runs into the middle of the road, stops it with one hand.
Bus, yeah.
Old lady sees him.
Shocked.
So not a very good disguise at the beginning.
No.
What did you think of this introduction of Clark Kent? Or let's put it out there. What did you think of Clark Kent?
I think he depicts the Clark Kent that we know of. He has all the charisma, the broad shoulders, the hair, the glasses, doesn't he? The hair, he always have that hair, doesn't he?
So you're focusing very much on the hair. I was thinking more of the way he carries himself and the fact that he kind of has to downplay his abilities. Although he drops a lot of he can speak Chinese.
Yeah.
He's been to all these different parts of the world.
Yeah.
He seems a well-travelled man.
Yes.
But as it says, he goes to the Daily Planet. He is dismissed by Perry. So he has an interview. You were saying that you thought.
Yes, I thought he went there for a job. That he already has the spot.
So he'd moved there because he'd been invited.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Instead, he goes there.
He goes there and he got, "You sorry, we don't want you. We don't like this story." I'm like, well, he just moved there and with his bags and everything. And now what does he have to do? Have to go back home or find another job?
Well, I mean, he could have just flown there for the interview.
Yeah,
it
that's
seems
true.
strange that he travelled by bus.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
he has to blend in.
Yeah, but nobody would see him fly into an alley, run in there, grab a bus ticket if he needs to pretend. I don't know.
Mm.
But yeah, it was interesting. What about the first meeting of Lois? We see her as a man initially. She's got a beard and a moustache and a hat.
Oh yeah, that was funny, wasn't it?
And we don't know who it is, and then we slowly see her revealed
that it was her
as Lois. So Superman, famously we said portrayed by Dean Cain. I think he's a fantastic Superman, and I was very happy to see him play Kara's adoptive father in Supergirl.
But she was Monel's mother, wasn't she?
Lois.
Yes.
Yes. So we haven't mentioned her yet, but Lois being played by Terry Hatcher, and in my opinion, I think the best portrayal of Lois Lane that's been done. I think she's better than...
I'll have to watch them like side by side in order to make that kind of assessment, I think.
I found in the like the Man of Steel movies and the Batman v Superman and that, she just... It was a bit forced. She didn't come across like a really good journalist. She just kept telling us she was a really good journalist, so we had to believe her. Whereas I feel like this one, she seems like she's always chasing the story and she's doing whatever it takes, and she comes across as a very strong female character.
Yes,
and I really like her in this role. And as I said, Dean Cain, I think he's a fantastic Superman. I think episode by episode we maybe just pick out some of these characters that we will have seen in different media or different variations of the character, and we can kind of compare and contrast and see what we like, what we don't like. I mean, obviously, I really like Henry Cavill as Superman. I think he's a great Superman. I feel like he needs to be given a good Superman movie. I think like towards the end of Justice League, he was a good Superman, but that kind of came out of nowhere because he hadn't been like that in the first two movies. But that's not his fault.
Because there's a lot of Superman movies. They keep remaking it and recreating it.
It's not been that many.
No?
No. There's been a lot of Superman stuff, been like TV shows and different things, but Superman movies, they were like the kind of what we call the originals, like the Richard Donner ones.
That's why I was a bit surprised when we saw this one, because I think I've seen the movies, but I haven't seen this one. And I was like, when you told me, oh, it's actually a series, like, what? It's a series? Oh, I have to watch it.
Yeah. Well, we're watching it and we're making a podcast about it. So let's see. So then eventually he writes this story about a theatre. Did you saw that bit? So
I thought that was really sweet when he went in there and listened to the old woman doing the play. And he was so knowledgeable about it. It's like, yeah, I know that.
Yeah, I think it's nice because it gives us a good portrayal of Clark Kent. Because he's still not even Superman at this point. So Clark is a nice guy. We like him. He is not simply a disguise for Superman. He is
the man.
A fully formed, fleshed out character.
Yeah.
And he's a nice guy. And we like it. But he's not like overly cheesy nice. Yeah. He's just
genuinely nice.
Genuinely nice. Yeah. So he writes this story, brings it in, and Perry likes it, takes him on, gets teamed up with Lois. She's not that happy about it. What did you think of the chemistry between Lois and Clark?
Well, Clark immediately was attracted to her, wasn't he? But I didn't think Lois was at the beginning, and she just have this wall that, oh yeah, I'm the boss and you are just here, you're in your seniority first, she always says.
Yeah, I think she was looking at it very much from a work perspective. You know, he's coming into her domain, she's the kind of top reporter.
It seems like she's so threatened, like that he would overtake her for some reason. At least that's why. Maybe
she worked hard to get to the position she's in.
Yeah, but then she should think that, well, I think I've earned this spot.
But that's what she's saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's telling him, I've earned this spot, back off. I'm in charge, you follow my lead. Yeah, so I coming back to it, I didn't realise sort of how quickly this little spark happened. I thought there was quite some time.
Yeah, but come on, Clark Kent is also a very attractive man. You know, I mean, when Kat saw him.
Kat? Okay, yeah. Not Lois.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember. I have to see it again. I'll watch it again. What her expression is when she saw him.
But anyway, you've mentioned...
Sorry, I keep jumping.
You've mentioned Kat.
My brain just goes everywhere.
So this, for me, was an interesting thing. Kat Grant is a character who I did not know appeared in this TV show. You
completely forgot about her.
I didn't even forget about her. I didn't know she was in it. Like, I know that's the same thing. But what I mean is, I didn't see her and go, oh yeah, Kat, she was in this. I didn't know she was ever in it. Like, there were other people that kind of popped up and I was like, oh yeah, of course it was that actor. Oh yeah, of course I remember this. I'd forgotten that she'd ever been in it. And I think that's just because at that time, the name meant nothing to me.
I know I just recognized her name because of Supergirl.
Yeah. So
and that she mentioned that she used to work for Perry White. And I said, oh, so that's Kat.
Yeah, so you've seen her famously portrayed by Ally McBeal,
Yes,
whose name I can't remember, the actress name. She's married to Harrison Ford, I know that much.
I don't know. I don't remember names.
But I remember her from the comic books, and I think even in, I think it was the New 52 run that she and Clark sort of actually teamed up and started an online thing together.
I don't know.
So this time when I heard the name, I was like, whoa, Cat Grant's in this. That's a great call from the comics. A nice little Easter egg there. And she's such a big character in this first episode.
Yeah, she was.
So it really amazed me that I mean, again, I was very young, but the fact that I completely didn't realize there was this character, I thought that was quite interesting. So they have to go and interview this guy, Platt, this kind of seems like a crazy scientist who's telling them. Yeah. So they interview him, I think, twice. Well, they interview him once.
Once, and then when they got back,
he's been killed.
He was dead, yeah.
And it made to look like a suicide.
He was yeah.
He's kind of got his feet in the water, and there's like...
It was like he was having a foot spa.
Yeah, and this sort of very visible electricity coming off him. Yeah, I mean, we have to kind of give this show a pass for its age.
Yes,
obviously, it's an older show, so there's going to be a lot of...
What year was it again?
1993.
93.
Yeah, so quite a while ago. So the effects
More
are
than
not
20 years ago.
Are not perfect, but it's it was interesting some of the directions they took. So it's ruled as a suicide. I think they do get in contact with the police. They try to kind of convince them that there was foul play, but it doesn't really come across.
Yeah.
What else happens? Well, we see this struggle mentions about Clark wanting to use his powers, but kind of not being able to because he's going to reveal himself. So he's not yet Superman at this point. And that actually leads to the kind of investigation that happens later, doesn't it? Lois and Jimmy go there, get caught.
Yeah, Jimmy immediately pass out.
Jimmy is useless in this.
Oh dear.
It brings us to one of the scenes I found to be the most ridiculous of the whole episode.
Okay.
And that was Lois's incredible kung fu powers. Where
I think she had like a brick in her handbag when she was just swinging all over the place, and
she could have had
knocks the man down.
a million bricks in that bag. It was still... So she is attacked by a man.
The man was useless.
The man was the muscle. He didn't speak in the whole episode.
No.
He was simply like the assassin, the muscle kind of guy.
But I think it was more the woman, wasn't it?
No, she was a scientist.
Yeah, but she was like, oh, let's get rid of her.
Yeah,
kind of
let's get rid of her. I'll use the muscle to do it.
That was useless.
Right. And she punched him in the face. He fell over. She kicked him. He fell over.
Maybe it was just balance.
No, it was just... And what annoyed me about it is that, as I said, Lois, everything else, she is portrayed as a strong character. But that was silly. Like, being strong mentally and being strong in the way she was, that was brilliant. But give her, a pepper spray or a taser or something. But just the idea that she could punch a man who was 3 times her size and he would fall down.
At the end, he redeemed himself, didn't he? Because he got her.
He got her.
At the end.
Well, only because the other woman pulled a gun on her.
Yeah.
But my point was just that, like, that was a little bit,
over the top.
Give her, let her pull down a bookcase or do something, but just kind of hitting this giant of a man, it just sort of, I was just a bit like, that's a little bit... I'm going to use the word unrealistic, and I realised there was a man flying around. It's all unrealistic. But you know what I mean. It just...
Yeah. She doesn't have a superpower.
She doesn't have superpowers. Yet. Maybe she gets them later.
Does she?
I don't know.
You see, he does this all the time. He makes a joke, says something, and I'm so naive and gullible. I was like, oh, really? Is that really what happened? And
I'm trying to keep you guessing. I want to keep the magic of the episode alive.
Dear.
So they get captured. Clark comes running in to save them.
Push the door, and no one said, "What? How did you do
nobody
that?"
said, "How did you knock that door flying through to the other side of the room?" then he's kind of compromised because he has to make a decision of revealing his powers.
What did he say again?
He comes in, he's like, put the guns down or I'll... And then he just sort of
Long
trails
pause.
off the sentence, and
Yeah,
he doesn't have a suggestion of what he will do. But that was interesting. They get tied up. They obviously manage to escape because he can simply break the chains, but
he already broke the chain.
Yeah, he broke the chain, and then
the
waited.
lady came, and I was like, no, she's gonna see that the chain is not on him.
She didn't really look.
Why
would she?
Well, yeah, she wouldn't expect him to be Superman.
So they're free. He does wait and let Lois, spill all her emotions and tell him how sad she is about this, and it's all her fault, which is a little bit naughty on his part, but
I thought it was really nice. It was really like he is like a farm boy kind of type, but he's not naive or gullible. He's just he knows what to do.
Yeah. So then they escape. The thing explodes, and as the synopsis mentioned, the helicopter also explodes. Yeah. So this doctor kind of gets the blame. Now we have skipped over a point that there was a scene that's not mentioned here. The party at Luthor's house.
Yes.
I say house. It wasn't a house. A massive tower in the middle of the city. But so there's this party where
penthouse.
We see her kind of trying to seduce Lex, and
and
we'll get back to that in a minute because I know you've got some thoughts about this scene. And we see them kind of investigating. They have a conversation with Lex as well. So he's already been introduced at this point, which is interesting because he's introduced as a really nice guy. He seems like a hero. He wants to save the space program that they're trying to do. And then immediately after the party, there's this really weird scene with a snake.
Yes, yeah. Oh dear.
That comes out of nowhere.
I remember. I was like, oh, someone must want to kill him, and I was thinking, who is gonna want to kill him?
And it seems that it's like his own hired man who just put a cobra in there, and they have a staring contest, and it's just like, this man is a baddie. That's sort of all we get from it.
Yeah, because when I first saw that it was the actor, he didn't look, he didn't look like a villain's face. He looked really kind face compared to all the other Lexes that I know of. And so that was really funny when the snake came into the room, and then when he was just drinking his drink and smoking and thinking about his plan, his schemes.
Yeah. So then we jump back to where we were. So they've escaped, and at this point, Clark is like, I need a costume. This isn't working. I need to be able to use my powers. So he flies back home, and then we have one of the craziest costume montages that's ever been put to film.
Yeah.
We see
Captain America.
We see the Flash.
I think I saw the Green Lantern's costume there.
So we see a lot of terrible costumes. The only problem with it is that then when we see the Superman one, particularly before they put the S on it, that also looks ridiculous.
It did, yeah.
Just in a trail of other ridiculous looking ones. Afterwards, it looks a lot better.
Did you notice his boots? I was just thinking when I saw it, surely that's not comfortable.
He's got super strength and senses. I'm sure he'll be fine.
All right, yeah.
Probably doesn't even need boots. He could just spray them on. Be fine.
It should just be like a spray paint suit or something.
Interesting. I don't know why you'd want that. Right. So he gets the costume. I did like the
I really like when the mom said that, don't worry, son, they won't be looking at your face. It just made me giggle.
Yeah. I don't think that's really... I know she's his adoptive mother, but I don't really think that's appropriate for her to say anyway.
I think it was just a proud mom. Come on.
Well, proud of that. So there was a nice scene afterwards because the dad hasn't seen it yet. So when Jonathan Kent turns around and sees him, and he's like, oh, that's my boy. And then there's like, oh no, yeah, they're going to recognize you. And he's got these glasses and he's like, they won't recognize me. And he sort of takes them off, puts them on, takes them off, and he's like, oh yeah, you look completely different.
Yeah.
And I know there is a criticism about Superman in general, that he just takes his glasses off and no one recognizes him.
Yeah, but the thing is, now I'll derail you again, but if he had a mask, then people would want to see his face. Then they would look into it.
Yeah, I think without having the mask, people are like, well, he's Superman.
Yeah.
He just is Superman. They're not thinking, who could Superman be? Superman is Superman. If you had all these powers, why would you pretend to be someone else? Why would you work a 9-to-5 job? You don't need to. You're Superman. But I really like there's a line in the Earth 1 graphic novel, I think, where it's a similar situation. He gets the costume and I think he says to his mum, hey, shouldn't I have a mask? People will recognize me. And she kind of says, well, look, when they see what you can do and how powerful you are, if you have a mask, you're going to scare them. But when they need to be able to see your face, and then they'll trust you. And I think that's a really important point to think about Superman. But also, Clark Kent. You're not going to look at Clark and think, oh, maybe you're Superman. Superman just seems like this unreachable goal. Nobody could be. Superman is Superman. Why would anyone else even be Superman? So I'm all right with that. I quite like that. So at this point, the spaceship is going to launch again. Lois has snuck on board because she loves getting in trouble.
Yeah, she's just a go-go girl.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see the adventures of Lois, the very short adventures where she just dies probably after 5 minutes because Superman's not there.
If there was no Superman, she would just be dead.
Yeah.
Won't she?
So she goes on board, she finds a bomb. There's this great scene of Superman eating the bomb.
Yeah, that
which
was so funny.
Was brilliant. And then it seems like they're not going to get to launch this spaceship because once the rockets have sort of fired up, they've missed their window. But Superman very kindly pushes it very slowly.
Gave them a lift, literally.
Into space.
I was expecting it to do whoosh, trying the atmosphere resistance, but it didn't do that thing.
No. He just slowly, casually
takes
it up, which was nice of him. So that's all his success. Episode doesn't end there. He goes to Lex and basically says, hey, I know it was you. I know who you are. You're a bad guy. I want to put you in prison. I think Lex says to him, like, oh, you're going to kill me. And he's like, well, no, I'm a citizen of the planet, so I have to obey the laws of the planet, and I won't kill you. You think you're above the laws of the planet. And there's this kind of a little bit of cheesy dialogue, but we'll let it go.
Well, it's 1993.
Yeah.
What can you expect?
But there is a line, actually there's two lines that kind of not irritate me, that's wrong, but Superman knows it's Lex, in my opinion, because at that party, Lex, when Clark and Lois are kind of sneaking around the apartment, he confronts him with a sword, and he mentions that this is the sword of Alexander the Great, and he uses a few lines from Alexander the Great. And then when they're tied up by the Doctor, she also quotes, I think, a line from Alexander the Great, and you see this kind of little recognition on Clark's face, like, I've heard this.
I missed that.
Doesn't surprise me.
I missed a lot of things. Then I asked him, what did they say?
So I think that kind of really sealed it for him. I think he was already suspecting Luthor, but that was like, it's definitely Luthor.
But it's because of the motives. You know, you can see it.
But then what I find sort of strange is that at that same party, Luthor is kind of boasting about how this is the tallest building in Metropolis, and what I like about that is that everybody has to look up to see me. Now, if you didn't know he was a villain at this point, you still wouldn't like him. I mean, what an ego on this guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, he makes this line basically about how he likes that everyone has to look up to see him, and he says that to Lois and Clark. That might be his go-to line. Maybe he says it to everyone, I don't know, but I do know he said it to Lois and Clark. So at the end, Superman, when he flies out, he flies up a little bit and says to Luthor, if you need to find me, look up. Like, I'll be up. Like, really, wink wink, nod nod, look up, ha ha ha, I know this is going to annoy you, right? Now, for me, that is the same as when Batman in Batman Begins says, it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. And then Rachel Dawes is like, oh, Bruce? Because I told you that, and you've now said it back to me. I know who you are. He's done the same thing. Luthor's meant to be a genius. He should know Clark is Superman.
Yeah, but I think it was
Photoshop him, remove the glasses.
I think it was just Clark Kent was Superman was just saying the obvious, you know. I mean, if you need me, just look up, because I'm flying up in the sky.
You are too
Where
trusting.
where else would you find him?
At the Daily Planet, because he's Clark Kent.
Oh, come on. To be honest, I was expecting there would be like a Superman light upstairs.
Superman light. The Superman signal.
Exactly. I was expecting that when he said just look up.
Right. So, we've kind of broke down the episode. I think we've missed some real major points.
I know.
But anyway, we're going to now do a few of what I'd like to refer to as the weekly features or the episode features, things we're going to bring out each time, if we remember.
Yeah.
So the first one is, what did you think, good or bad?
Good.
So
I really like
you're
it.
going to watch the next episodes?
Yes.
Excellent. I too really enjoyed it, even though coming back from a long time. As I said, I'm a comic book fan anyway. But honestly, actually, after this episode, so I'm a big Batman fan. You know that.
Yes, I know that.
But like coming back to this and just seeing how Superman is portrayed here, I was saying to you, maybe I should really be a big Superman fan.
It's just Superman and Batman is like night and day. They're completely different personality, and Batman is so dark, so gloomy. Or, I grew up without my parents. Superman is.
He grew up without his parents. They died on Krypton.
Yeah, but this is also what I noticed about the pilot episode is that his parents, Martha and Jonathan, really loved him like their own. So they really have a very good relationship, and that really helped him to develop like a good man. And I really like that relationship. So you see, no parents.
Yeah, I think I heard I think it was on the Dog Hair Presents podcast, maybe, but I definitely heard on one podcast somebody referred to Jonathan and Martha Kent as the most important characters in the DC universe because they shaped Superman.
Yeah, can you imagine if he had a different parent?
Well, there were comic
Abusive
books.
parents
There were
and
like Superman Red Sun, where famously he lands in Russia, as opposed to
he could be a really bad villain. No one would be able to defeat him apart from Batman.
You've read the comic then, because that's pretty much what happened. So that was good overall. I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah,
so definitely looking forward to the next episodes. Now, we've mentioned a couple of times, this came out in 1993. So, do you feel the show has been dated in any way?
Oh, yes.
So,
Massively.
what stood out to you as maybe hinting at, in some way, that this show was not filmed in the last 2 or 3 years?
The wardrobe. It was just crazy, wasn't it? The big padded shoulder of the jacket blazer.
You must be talking about Clark, surely.
But no, Lois. I wondered if it was just because she was so small frame and she had these massive clothes on her. But it was just massive.
There was a scene that I absolutely loved at the party.
Yeah.
So she's been trying to get a one-on-one interview with Lex Luthor. He famously doesn't give one-on-one interviews with anybody. And they're at Lex's party, and he kind of comes down, and she calls out to him very seductively, like, Lex. And he turns, and we see her, and Terry Hatcher, she's a beautiful woman, and you see her
Jimmy.
kind of from the like neck up almost,
neck up,
maybe slightly lower than the neck up, but
cleavage
up. About that. And very, trying to kind of seduce him into talking to her, using her feminine wiles. And then from behind, there's like a lightning flash, and the whole dress lights up.
Oh my goodness!
It is the widest dress I've ever seen.
It was so hideous. It was so hideous, like big.
It was the dress where you need to walk sideways through a door.
It was really massive. Yeah, it reminded me of like a candy, the one that had a wrapper.
Yeah, you're thinking like a Cadbury's Rose or a Quality Street or something like that.
And it wasn't even long gown. It was like below the knee. It didn't make any sense. Anyway, what can you say? It was the top fashion at that time.
Yeah, definitely. The other character whose fashion really stood out was Cat Grant. We mentioned her earlier.
Oh my goodness!
So she was supposed to be the kind of diva, the seductress, if you will.
What was she wearing? She was wearing
like a kind of one-piece sort of weird spandexy dress.
Was it
trouser
like
suit thing, like leopard print almost?
Leopard print. My goodness, it was just hideous, and everything about it. Her hair, her makeup. Oh my goodness, it was just like out of this world.
Oh, I'm so sorry if she's listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was just your character. It wasn't you personally. I don't want to be.
Yeah. So that dated it. There were a few other things. There was the phone call using the pay phone that was conveniently located
In the bedroom.
in the bedroom, which you just you
funny.
think if it was filmed now, you'd just be Skyping, FaceTiming, whatever it is that his parents. Then they're at home with the one corded phone, like the landline phone, and then the cordless one, so they can both listen in on the same line.
Yeah, but at that time, that was like top technology.
Yeah, at that time, that was the annoying thing where like you're on the phone and
someone can just listen
your
to your
brother's
conversation.
picked up the phone and he's gonna get his hand over the mouthpiece, listening into your conversations. Yeah, so that was a couple of the things that really dated it quite a lot.
The men's not so much. It's
yeah, I mean
a suit is always a suit.
A suit is a suit. They wore it slightly differently than we would today,
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's a bit more baggy that time. Obviously, now everything is skinny.
But I think the bagginess of the suit is anyway played up for Clark to kind of conceal a little bit more what he looks like.
Do you think he looked a bit bigger than Superman? Clark Kent?
No, because again, I mean, the whole thing of Clark Kent is that it's supposed to be that he sort of slouches a little bit. He makes himself look smaller, less imposing. Although, that being said, he wasn't yet Superman, so maybe he hadn't done... There is that scene where Lois turns up at the apartment and he's just in a towel, and she's a little bit taken aback by
come on,
how good he looks.
If someone opens the door like that, just on a towel, and seems like like normal, you'd be surprised and you'd be like, oh, okay, time to...
And you've got to think that was a conscious decision on his part,
because
one, he said to his mum and dad when he's on the phone when she knocks,
he
said
he knew
Lois is at the door, and two, he has super speed. He
does.
Could have got dressed.
I think he made it, he did it on purpose, so to because he's been trying to.
Yeah, he was, moments away from accidentally dropping the towel.
Did he?
No, he didn't. But it wouldn't surprise me at this point, because that's the kind of guy he was here.
But if we have the same scene now, he would be a bit ripper, won't he?
Well, he was in really good shape.
He was.
I mean, there was not the obligatory ab shot, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like Henry Cavill would be like so ripped and 8-packs or whatever.
Well, yeah, 18-pack. Who knows? So yeah, there were a few things that dated the show. There was some funny scenes, but I mean, we've got to give it a pass for that. Obviously.
So do you think it was that time that Lois finally seen Clark?
Oh no, because if you said that, then we would be saying she's a very shallow character who is only attracted by, I think...
When was it?
I think it's throughout his... she sees his character... Developing and different things. All right, there were a few other things that just popped into my mind, so I'm going to say before I forget, that were kind of wrong. So you
always see the wrong things. This is what For me, everything looks really nice and rosy.
Was the Chinese takeaway?
Okay, you did say that.
Right, so Chinese takeaway. So she's like, oh, I wish I knew a good Chinese place. Right, problem one, she's lived there for who knows how many years. She would know a good Chinese place.
She would.
There's no way. You're an investigative journalist. Investigate a good Chinese restaurant. But anyway, I digress. He knows a good place. And we see him fly to China, pick up authentic Chinese food, and bring it back. There is a problem.
Yeah.
The fortune cookies.
Yeah.
The fortune cookies are in Chinese, revealing that
they were
that's strange. Well, he picked them up in China, so that's why they're in Chinese, and he can read Chinese. The problem is, fortune cookies, correct me if I'm wrong, are an American invention. They're not Chinese. So... getting them in China, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but the thing is, if he didn't get those, then Lois would suspect, where's my fortune cookies?
Yeah, but should he have he made them? He told the guy, can you make me a fortune cookie and put a Chinese fortune in there?
Maybe he went to stop by somewhere.
Then it would have been in English.
Drive-through. In Chinatown.
It still would have been in English.
Oh.
Yeah, you see, you again, you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. You are the person that is fooled by the glasses.
Yeah, well, of course.
So, we've gone back. So again, another thing that obviously dates the show, but if we brought this up every time, it would be very boring. It's obviously the special effects of CG. There's only so much they can do. But to be honest,
the storytelling is really good, isn't it?
Storytelling is good so far. We've only seen this pilot episode, so
language is good.
We'll see it. So seeing it for the very first time, you liked it, right?
I like it because as the guy was explaining in the thing, this is more about their relationship, the Lois and Clark, whereas like Smallville is about before he became Superman, and other stories about Superman is about different parts of his life, and this one is about more them. So I think it's quite nice to see.
Any funny scenes that really stood out for you?
Oh, when Kat saw Clark, it's like, oh, hello. It's like, my name is Kat. Oh, okay, right. I said, call me Kat. And he said, okay, Kat. It was just so funny.
I think, the cat scenes were quite funny.
She's just so, I don't know.
I quite liked seeing Perry eating the leaves that Clark recommended for him.
Was it like a drug?
No, it was just a leaf that calms you, reduces blood pressure, I think it was.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. I wonder how he got that.
So yes, I suppose it was a drug in the sense that like aspirin is a drug, and
I suppose,
could headache or any kind of. It wasn't like a hard drug, I think.
But it was just interesting how his character is very likable. Like everyone likes him.
Yeah. I liked him. I came away thinking he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, and he doesn't have to try that much to be able to attract people's attention in a good way.
So another thing we're going to want to do is ranking the episodes.
Wow.
So we're going to rank all the episodes in season 1, and then in season 2, in season 3, and season 4. I think there's only 4 seasons, and then we'll have at the end of this show the ultimate episode.
Okay.
So, episode 1, season 1. Where do you want to put it on the list?
Well, of course, rank 1 is the first episode.
So you're going to put it at the very top. I'm going to put it at the very bottom of the list.
Why?
Well, it's still the same place. There's only one episode on the list. So, episode 1, season 1, pilot, as it's called. We're putting that in spot number 1. Which is both top and bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we've enjoyed watching the episode.
Yeah, it was
We've
fun.
enjoyed talking about the episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed listening to us talk about the episode.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe it's inspired you to go back and have a watch of the show yourself.
Yeah. I really like the older shows,
Yeah. I mean, I think now that especially that all the other shows are kind of on a break at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a good time if you're looking to fill that superhero a gap that's opened up in your schedule. This could be a good one to go back and rewatch. So at the end of the show, we just like to wrap up by letting you know where you can contact us. So we actually have another podcast that's called A Conversation With, and so this is sort of spun off from that, just us having a chat about this show. So if you want to contact us, you can use all the social media that we set up for that show, which is ACW Pod at Twitter and Instagram. You can go to our website, aconversationwithpod.com, and there'll be all the information of that show and also this show. So A Conversation With, just if this is your first time listening, is just another podcast where each week I have a different guest and we speak about a different topic. And episode 1, I'm joined by my wife once again, and we talk about living abroad. But we also have a few other episodes up already, and they're coming out once a week as well. So if you haven't listened to that, feel free to head across to aconversationwithpod.com and also give that one a listen as well. But as I said, if you want to contact this show, you can use the same social media for that one. It's all the same network. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.